Sorry, members, we'll be beginning the meeting in a few. Hello, Daktari.
Hello, yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Idi.
Okay.
Welcome. Yes.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, so thank you, members. Our executive director and the CEO is here. Just as I had said, I welcome you to enjoy today's discourse. My name is Victor Maingi. Now, I want to take this opportunity to welcome him to give his remarks as he invites today's speaker. Welcome, Idi.
Yes, thank you very much, Victor, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again, once again to this webinar. Sorry, I just had a bit of a challenge in logging in, but nevertheless, we are there. The topic of today is building wealth with purpose, lessons from the rich on asset investment and breaking the consumption trap. And from what we are seeing from this topic, we believe that in modern shifting economy, the decisions we make on how and where we invest our resources are more than just financial transactions. They are strategic alignments. And we also believe that for a long time, the prevailing narrative has always been that of immediate gratification. In other words, you spend today what you might have saved for tomorrow. And so the consumption trap, which while perhaps stimulating in the short term, is a dangerous cycle in our view, and it hinders long-term growth. We therefore believe that we all can break from this consumerism cycle by applying practical strategies, for example, mindful spending, reducing exposure to triggers, e.g. promote a social media, or even that aspect of you going to a supermarket or to a place of where there are things being sold, and then instantly, because of the social media exposure, or because of the adverts that you've seen, you instantly want to buy something that was not even going to add much more value to you. We also believe that another strategy one can do is adopting a minimalist mindset, focusing on experience as opposed to ownership. And so for this topic, we believe that we have the right person. We'll talk about asset investment, which we believe is a fundamental principle, which when embraced can be a game changer. And it is therefore a key to building wealth and achieving financial freedom. Ultimately, we believe that successful asset investment is inextricably linked to overcoming the consumption trap. And so we are confident that today's session or discourse will provide valuable lessons of empowerment towards building a foundation of lasting prosperity. And we therefore thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to an engaging and impactful discussion today. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce our speaker. Perhaps Victor, you can display his credentials so that we take through the members. It's a bit faint. I'm not sure I'll be able to read that, but let me see whether I can pick it up. However, we do know that the speaker, Dr. Robert Mugo Karongo, holds a PhD and is a distinguished finance and distinguished finance expert and educator. We also do know that from his profile that he holds a Bachelor of Commerce degree. He also holds a PhD and an MBA in finance, and he's also a member of professional bodies like CASNEB as a CPA holder and CIFA. Currently, Dr. Karongo is a lecturer in accounting and finance at Egerton University. And Dr. Karongo also serves as a finance director of Egerton University SACCO, which is a SASRA regulated financial institution, where he provides strategic leadership in cooperative finance. And he has also conducted extensive training for SACCOs across the country and authored many financial literacy manuals tailored for teachers and pharmacists. I'm not too sure why pharmacists and why teachers, but he will explain that a little bit. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Dr. Robert Mugo Karongo, who will give us a discourse on the topic of today, which is building wealth with purpose, lessons from the rich on asset investment and breaking the consumption trap. As usual, if all is well, please give us a thumbs up. If there's a problem, give us a thumbs down or post on the chat, and we'll endeavor to respond. Again, also please post questions on the chat box so that immediately after the discourse, then Dr. Robert Karongo will be able to answer those questions. So Robert, this is your floor. Daktari, take us through on the discourse, and karibu sana. Thank you, and you're all very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ndegwa. I appreciate the way you have introduced me. It is true, I am a financial analyst and a trainer. I hope my screen can be seen. I hope my screen can be seen.
Yes.
So there is something that Dr. Ndegwa has said that I need to respond to. Why have I mentioned teachers and pharmacists? I have developed training manuals in several places. Among them, there have been high school teachers, how they should operate in terms of their financial literacy, and also pharmacists. I am keeping on developing some training manuals for various fields. So that is why those two areas have been mentioned. Let me go to our discussion. Lessons from the rich on asset investment and breaking the consumption trap. I am a follower and a reader of a gentleman called Robert Kiyosaki. He talks about rich dad, poor dad. And this topic was coined from, there is a place he said that the rich invest in assets, the middle class invest in liabilities disguised as assets, and the low income are just consumers. So that is where we need to look at how can you break this consumption trap. Now, our objectives for today will be to understand how the rich people think and how do they behave around money. You may find they are what we call their business magnet. They are able to attract money. Money keep on coming to their path, while the others people may not really know how do we make money. We also need to learn about the principles that are used by these wealthy people. And we also need to identify some behaviors that will lead to the consumption trap. Remember, we've said that this consumption trap, you will think you are investing in an asset, but in real sense, you are investing in an asset that is draining your income. You have upgraded to this asset, but in the other side, your expenditure has just increased without a commensurate increase in the income. Then we shall also learn about what strategies can we have to build long-term wealth, and how can we apply these lessons practically in the Kenyan context. So now, who are the rich? Who do you call the rich? The rich, or sometimes rich and wealthy are used interchangeably, but the correct term is the wealthy people. These are not just high income earners. These are people who will accumulate assets that will generate them income. We shall come and learn about what we call active income and passive income. You accumulate assets. If you are accumulating assets, these assets could be accumulated from your business income or could be accumulated from your employment income. Remember, employment income can also become a seed capital, like the way we have seen the likes of James Mwangi and Gideon Morioki. They started their employment income and they build it to a portfolio where they really own a lot of investments in their various banks. The rich are those who have mastered delayed gratification and wealth cycles. You know, most of the challenges that we have as individuals, you want to spend money even when it is not the right time for spending money. I normally say that it is good to enjoy life. It is very good to enjoy life. But the question is, at what stage do you want to enjoy this? Sometimes we make mistakes and buy some things or spend on things that we do not need at the moment. And they normally say that if you buy something that you don't need, there is a day, if God forbid, there is a day you may be forced to sell something that you need. So the rich are many quiet, to quote, quiet millionaires, somebody who owns land, investors, and disciplined savers. Now, how do we get to the level of the rich? This is something I have adopted from Robert Kiyosaki's book called The Cash Flow Quadrants. And allow me to explain this. When we talk in the cash flow quadrants, on the left side, you can see we have employees and self-employed. On the right side, we have business owners and investors. For employees, they earn regular salaries. Most of the time right now, it is 7th. Some people got paid, maybe even those whose salaries have delayed, maybe they have just gotten paid. And the worst case, maybe by 10th, salaries have been paid. You are sure that you have some income flowing in. But the challenge with these salaries, you find it is not enough. Your expenditure grows at a higher rate than your income. And for salaries, you must work 8 to 5. That is most of the places Monday to Friday, and some even Saturday 9 to 4. And you have to work whether you want or whether you feel like or not. The advantage here, they are assured. As an employee, you just need to go to work. Whether you keep on making stories with your friends and whatever, there are some places, just go to work 8 to 5. At the end of the month, you are assured that you will have pay. The disadvantage for these employees are the most highly taxed component. Remember, when the government wants to increase taxes, and it is not only government in Kenya, governments all over the world, they read the payslip. Like Kenya, you talk about this social health insurance fund. you talk about affordable housing levy. These employees are the ones who are hit most. You find that those who are in business, maybe somebody earning 50,000 and an employee earning 50,000, the one in business may not even be contributing towards housing levy, but the one in employment must. The other disadvantage is there is a lower pay. The pay does not grow as much as expenditure grow. And maybe I should add another one. You have some constraints. You cannot have that freedom that you may want. The next category in the cash flow quadrant is the self-employed. The self-employed here, we are talking about maybe consultants. They could be lawyers. There could be financial trainers. They could be medical doctors who are running a one-person business, or what we call the sole proprietorship. So these people, they have an advantage. They are their own bosses. You report to work. If you feel like reporting to work Monday at 2 p.m., it is at your discretion. You feel going home on Friday at 11 a.m., it is again at your discretion. But you have the disadvantage of you must work to be able to earn some income. If you do not go to work for 1 week, that 1 week you don't have food. They have an advantage of managing their time. We normally say they own time. You report to work when you feel like. So on the left side of this cash flow quadrant, employees and those who are self-employed, those who are doing one-person business, they earn what we call active income. And active income is income that is directly proportional to the effort that you make. You go to work. If you don't go to work, you don't earn. You decide to take a holiday for 1 month, that 1 month you must find ways of how do you take care of your expenditure if you are self-employed. So the rich are normally on the right side of this cash flow quadrant, and we shall start with the business owners. Now, self-employed can grow and become business owners. Maybe you are that consultant, you are a medical doctor, you decide to establish a clinic with several doctors who come in. Yourself, or you decide to own a hospital, maybe a medical doctor is owning a hospital. At that point, you don't have to go to work to earn an income. You have people working for you. And because of that, we normally say that they own systems. You have mechanisms that have been put in place that money is just generating itself. The advantage of these people, you don't have to work all the time. Maybe you are a very successful lawyer with a law firm with 10 law advocates. When you talk about these 10 advocates, you can go to holiday even for 1 month. The advocates are still working for you, and you will still you'll get a pay at the end of the month. The disadvantage of this, you must have systems. And these systems are most of the times capital intensive. I like giving this example. You own a boutique. When you own a boutique and you have an employee or 2 or 3 employees working for you, if you are not careful, you will find you are paying rent for that boutique. You are paying those employees' salaries. You are paying the county government licenses, any form of fixed cost, electricity, and so on. And the employees can decide they will not defraud you. They will not cause pilferage, or they will not take your clothing items for themselves. They will decide to sell their own stock, but you are paying them. Maybe you go to a boutique and say, I want to buy this pair of jeans. Maybe it is between 1,500 to 2,000. They tell you this one is 1,500, but there is another one I can find at 1,000 and give you. So these people know where you buy these clothes, you are paying them, and they will. If you have not established systems, maybe CCTV cameras and so on, you will find you are paying them to sell their own items. So even if they sell their clothes or their stock at the cash or at the cost price, they will not be worried because after all, you are paying them. And you, when you come and do your audit, if you had 50 pairs of jeans, they are still 50. The other category, the one that we all desire to be, are investors. Now, investors here, they make money work for them. These are businessmen. We could be having people like landlords, people who are big, heavy investors here. Here, money works for them. And you have things like public-private partnerships. You have, I think some days ago, you would see who owns, what do you call it? This e-citizen. There are those who provide services to the government for maybe SHA. There are those who are private suppliers of electricity to Kenya Power. These ones are just concerned with, if I have 1 billion, what will be my return on investment if I do this project? The advantage here, people search or look for these investors. They come with projects. I want to do this project. Can you invest here? Disadvantage here for those who are investors, they are, especially those who are maybe billionaires and so on, they could be politically affected by the landscape, the political landscape. A new government may be started maybe to target a particular business and so on. The next slide, I want us to look at the wealth formula that are used by the rich. We normally say that wealth is net assets, and wealth is simply your assets minus your liabilities. And when we talk about assets, we need to be clear about real assets. Sometimes we do not need to mention about paper assets. Why am I saying this? Sometimes you could be having a plot that you bought at, let's say, 500,000. 2 years down the line, the plot is worth 2 million. Or 2 million could be a bit unrealistic. Let's say 2 years down the line, the plot is worth 1.3 million. Your asset has appreciated by 500,000 to 1.3 million, that is 800,000. If you cannot use the 800,000 here, will be treated as a paper asset. It will only be realized if you can use that asset to generate you income, or you can use that asset as a financial leverage tool to be able to take a loan or a debt on. So the focus here is you want to grow your assets, not necessarily your income, what we call growing your portfolio. You need to protect your wealth by minimizing unnecessary consumption. When we talk about consumption, we are referring to their needs, their wants. At what point do you want to consume on wants? Wants are things that are not let me start with needs. Needs are those things that make your life better, or those things that are mandatory in your life. For example, food, shelter, clothing, education. Wants, on the other hand, are things that spice up your life. They make it better. For example, a boda rider may need a helmet. A helmet for a boda rider business is classified as a need. But a helmet for the same boda rider, they may want a good music system. That one is a want. It is going to spice up their life, but not mandatory. So you need to minimize unnecessary consumption. There is a time that you will decide to consume. Remember, we talked about delayed gratification. You postpone your consumption until the right time. We mentioned about passive income and active income. So the rich use passive income. That is, they use the income without working, and they use their active income. Let me just remind you, active income, we talked about income that is directly related to your effort. Like that employed person, that self-employed person who is a sole business owner. Active income is used or should be used for investments. But passive income, you said it is income that you do not have to directly generate it. People are working for you. Passive income can be used for luxuries. Now, the mistake that this debt consumption trap that you find people, you may find a rich person going on holiday and they're using their business profits. And then you, let me call you Robert. Robert, you decide to also go on holiday, but you have taken a loan. You have taken a loan that you will pay for the next 5 years. So, what are the types of assets that rich people invest in? Most rich people invest in real estate. Remember, we normally say in economics that land is the greatest factor of production. So real estate here could be rental units, land, commercial buildings. At the end of the day, all or most of the people have to come back to land. How do you make rental units grow for you? If you can have advantages of having loans that you can use to grow this. I normally give an example, like for commercial buildings, there is a gentleman I happen to know in the town, the city that I am in, Nakuru. This person has been taking advantage of financial leverage. He uses, maybe he has building A, he charges building A to construct building B. Building B, once it gets income, it is charged to construct building C. And there is a time building A will be free of loans, even building B will be free of loans. So you build your empire. They also do stocks and bonds. NSE shares, for those who can remember, 2006, 2007, 2008, we had so many investments in terms of the NSE shares, Cooperative Bank shares, Equity Bank shares, Safaricom, Kenya Re, Eveready, though some were not so good. They invest in stocks and bonds and treasury bills. Like right now, you may find the government has issued an infrastructure bond that is tax-free. One of those bonds have a maturity of 7.5 years, and it is giving a return of 12.5% tax-free. Now, somebody with 100,000 will look at 12.5%. In a year, that is 12,500. Let's round it off to 12,000. You will say 100,000 generating me 1,000 shillings per month may look a little amount of money, but let's ask ourselves, what about that billionaire? That person who has 1 billion shillings to spare and decides to invest in these infrastructure bonds. 1 billion will generate 120 million shillings every month. 125 million to be precise, but let me for rounding off, sorry, every year, the 125 million, let's round it off to 120 million. So every month it will generate a whopping 10 million. You find this person will sit comfortably getting 10 million shillings every month from his or her investments. The next is businesses, owning a business or being part of a business. You've seen some business people like SK Masharia growing his empire from Citizen. Now he has the largest business empire in this country in terms of media stations. They also do SACCOs and MMFs. SACCOs are good for financial leverage. Remember, we say the rich, you do not have to be a billionaire. You are somebody who is building your wealth slowly. In SACCOs, you find they will get return on their investments, and they can also be able to do financial leverage. They can be able to borrow money from SACCOs and use it to grow. MMFs, these are money market funds. Sometimes you find in your life, you need to have money to help you do operations. So you cannot put all your money in your assets. There is a lesson I have taught before about people call what we call asset rich, cash poor. You may find if you have assets worth 10 million and the cash that is available at your disposal is only maybe 50,000. An emergency happens that you need 200,000. That asset that you have, maybe it is a parcel of land, let's say 10 of them, each a million times 10, that is 10 million. You know, selling land is not that liquid. You may find you will dispose of that land at a throwaway price, and it will still take time. So where you have that pocket change, that loose money, that money that you need to be able to help you in your operations, you can keep it in money market funds. Some are giving a return of, most right now because of the drop in treasury bills, most of them are giving returns between 8 to 10% before tax. So you can put your money there because you can be able to access it when you need, and it will be able to take care of your liquidity needs, but you can't really call it an investment. You can't say, I have 10 million now, I have invested in money market funds, now I will be getting all my income from that. They also do intellectual property, maybe doing some books, softwares. I want to give an example of this media personality, JF Koinange. Koinange has been, those who have known him, has been moving with JKL from any station that he goes. I think he started with K24. He came to another station. Right now he's in Citizen. If he goes to another station, because he owns that JKL, he will still move with it. And any income or any advertisement that a Citizen probably makes, he has a share in terms of that program because it is his property. They also do foreign investments. You have heard about investment in Jersey Islands, Cayman Islands, those that are friendly. Now, consumption trap. What is this consumption trap? Remember, I started by saying that the middle class invests in assets. Sorry, the middle class invests in liabilities disguised as assets. I want you to take that. You are thinking it is an asset, but it is a liability. So what is this consumption trap? This is when you spend all your income on lifestyle upgrades. I'm not saying you should not upgrade your lifestyle. I'm not saying you should drive your car for the next 25 years, but there is a time for that. They upgrade cars, phones, or clothes without investing. You want to be the most trendy person. They will say, let's say, this phone, iPhone, I'm not very good at these iPhones, but let me just say iPhone, this brand, they say this is the best. You buy that iPhone, after 3 months later, there is another brand that is way better. What do? You keep on chasing. It is going to be chasing after the wind. For clothing, you decide you will be always wearing trendy clothing. Fashion has been there. It will still be there. We came and found it, and we shall also leave it. So you may find you are chasing after the wind. And chasing after the wind, you can never be able to catch the wind. Robert Kiyosaki calls this rat race. You can imagine a rat that is chasing its tail. When will the race end? It will never end, because the faster the rat runs, the faster its tail runs. You rely on salary alone, paycheck to paycheck cycle. I want to pose a question here. You probably will answer to yourself, or you can answer later. How many streams of income do you have? Do you depend only on your salary? Remember, from paycheck to paycheck. When money is paid, for those ones who are lucky to be paid on 28th of, let's say, July, there are some who by 30th of July, they were trying to ask, tutalipwa hii mshahara ingine lini? You are not able to survive. You keep on using your paycheck, and this paycheck could mean even going for bad debt to be able to sustain your lifestyle. Then there is trying to look rich instead of being rich. The biggest mistake that we have as middle class or people with social media access, you want people to know that you are rich. Let's say you are consuming some lunch. Somebody decides, I must eat at Sarova. I must eat at Hilton. You are spending 2,000 shillings every day on lunch. And maybe your salary is 100,000. So 5 days in a week, that is 2,000 times 5, that is 20,000 in a month, 40,000 you are spending it, so that people will see you as rich. I usually tell people, even the likes of Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, William Ruto, who we see as very rich people, there are places, if they go to the likes of Warren Buffett, Donald Trump, they are still not rich. What are the symptoms that you are in a consumption trap? What are the symptoms that you are in a consumption trap? One, your salary is gone within 48 hours of being paid. Or we can even say your salary goes within a week of being paid. And you remember, when it is gone, you start getting ways of survival, including taking bad loans, and you find yourself now falling into the debt trap. You do not have an emergency fund or investments. You remember the times of COVID-19. COVID-19, when it came, people were in a very difficult situation. There are some institutions that most private institutions would tell their employees, we cannot be able to continue paying 100%. Some would pay half, even government institutions, some would pay half. How would you survive? The rule of thumb is that you should have savings or a fund that can take care of at least 6 months of your spending. Go and do your spending budget. keep records. You can be able to tell, maybe in a month, you can be able to tell, today I have spent this much on this much on this. Take a fresh month. If August is too late, you can start September. September day 1. Record everything that you have spent up to September 30th. It will give you a rough idea of how much you spend. And then when we have this spending, you should have an emergency fund that can take care of you for 6 months. The hard question that I will also ask, if your salary is stopped today, God forbid, would you be able to survive? In terms of middle class, we have what we call the floating middle class. I'm still on this emergency fund or investment. A floating middle class is that person who is in a middle class is able to meet their needs, basic needs, even some small luxuries and some wants. But should anything happen to their income, they are sent back to the low income category, or they say from grass to grace, back to grass. Their other sign, they have frequent loans to sustain lifestyle. When we talk about loaning, you may find that we take loans for 3 purposes. You can take loan for emergencies, you can take loans for consumption, you can take loans for investments. Loans for emergencies, maybe you have a sick parent, God forbid, somebody is sick, that one you can do nothing about. Loans for consumption, maybe somebody, you want to buy a good shoe, you want to buy a good designer cloth, or you want to live well, you want to take loan to go on holiday. Loans for investments, you want to take money to do a project. While loans for emergencies purposes we don't have control over, we highly discourage taking loans for consumption. If you cannot live within your means, or if you cannot live below your means, please know that you are in a consumption trap. You try to keep up with peers on social media. Have you ever asked yourself, on social media, do you find people post bad meals? Do you find people posting, today I'm in a village, I do not have anywhere to go? They only post where they have gone on holiday. They went to Mozambique, they went to Maldives, they have bought a new car, they are in now this neighborhood. Remember, nobody posts negative things on social media, very few people. So if you try to follow what is being done on social media, most of the lives there are plastic. Then the other sign that you are in a consumption trap, you live to impress. You want people to see that you have money. You are called for a meeting in your village. Let's say your village is somewhere in Muranga. You are coming from Eldoret. People must know that you drive. You decide to drive from Eldoret to Muranga, maybe like 340 kilometers or so, when you could use public means. You want people to see that you have money. I am not saying, by the way, you should not drive. But if you are driving to show people that you have money, then you may find yourself in a consumption trap. This living to impress vis-a-vis or against planning for legacy. How do the rich avoid the consumption trap? Most of them, they automate savings. And when they automate savings, they have standing orders or even direct debits to their accounts. Every month, I want a portion of my money to be sent towards this account. And investing fast. What the rule of thumb is, you should pay investments, then whatever is left, you can be able to spend. So this automating saving, you should save in a place that it is not easy to get that money when you are tempted to. Take an example. You have 100,000 shillings in your bank account. Your bank account, you can be able to access it over your phone, or you have an ATM card, and you have the temptation. Remember, we talked about the delayed gratification. You have the temptation to treat yourself over the weekend and spend 15,000. If you can access this money, it is going to be easy. So save money where you cannot access. Go to your bank, go to your SACCO. SACCO, you can deposit, you can have this money in shared deposits. Bank account, you can have an account where you can only access your money when you are there physically, and maybe you access your money like 4 times in a year maximum. Live below their means. The rich, most of the time, they live below their means. You may find they are driving older cars. I'm not saying cars are not good, but they live in a way they can be able to satisfy. Delay gratification. Not now does not mean never. There is a time. I'm not ready for this. Maybe I will be ready for this once. Maybe you have taken a loan of 500,000. You want to start a business, vis-a-vis you want to spend that money. If you start a business with 500,000, it can be giving you, maybe when it peaks, maybe it is giving you a return of even 50,000 per month. After the business is now giving you a return, after maybe 5 years, it has stabilized and so on. Now you can decide, this money that this temptation that I didn't want to do, now I can do it. They invest before they upgrade their lifestyle. I said, for active income, salary, or your direct self-employment income, you should use it for investments. Upgrading your lifestyle should come from your passive income. You spend on luxuries basing on your passive income. They value financial freedom more than social approval. People come and talk, wataongea na usiku watalala. So you have your goals. You do not have to be socially approved in the social media. Decide, this is my goal, this is the formula, this is the plan, that is how I want to get there. Now, the next slide I want us to look at are investment principles that we can learn from the rich. This one I have mentioned before: buy assets, not liabilities disguised as assets. Take, for example, you are driving a car of 1500 cc. This car drives maybe from Nakuru to Nairobi, you spend 4,000 shillings. You decide your income has increased by 50,000. Now I can afford to buy a 2,400 cc car. I'm just giving an example. Maybe that car from Nakuru to Nairobi, it is now spending 9,000 shillings. That vehicle you are spending on insurance, let's say 120,000 shillings on insurance. The one that was 1,500 cc, you are spending on a comprehensive insurance, let's say of 35,000. Insurance has increased by 90,000. Fuel consumption has doubled or even increased more than double. There are spare parts and so on. You find that your net effect, yes, there was an increase of 50,000, but the expenses have taken 60,000. you are worse off than you were by 10,000. The rich do cash flowing assets or treat cash flowing assets as a priority. This asset that you are doing, does it give you cash? There is a training I happened to attend, organized by the regulator for SACCOs, is called SASRA. And this regulator, it was about CEOs and chairmen of SACCOs. And this training, there was this CEO of Stima SACCO. He's Dr. I'm forgetting his exact name. He's Dr. somebody. He was saying that liquidity and profits are very key to an organization. Liquidity is the shock absorbers in an organization. I've mentioned about cash rich, asset poor. If you are not liquid, there is a chance that you may be forced to dispose of your asset at a throwaway price. So whenever you invest in assets that give you cash flows. Take, for example, you have a very prime parcel of land in an estate. Maybe that parcel of land is worth 5 million, the market value. Your salary cannot allow you to build real estate there. What do? There is another place, they are selling parcel of land at 2 million. And you can be able to take maybe another loan of 3 million. It comes to 2 million. You have 3 million left from selling that asset. So now you have 6 million. You can be able to do some property that is going to generate you 100,000 shillings per month. Please do not stay with an asset saying that I have land in the most prime part of this town. If you cannot be able to get cash flows from that asset, then it may not help you in terms of investments. It is going to be what we call a paper asset. If you cannot use that asset to take either a mortgage or directly generate income from that, it is not going to assist you. The next aspect is compound interest is king. Start early. Again, you may find with money markets, you can decide to have a discipline. Let's say you are saving 2,000 shillings every month. Let me use 2,000 shillings. 2,000 shillings every month is coming to around 500 shillings a week. For somebody who is beginning their career, let's say this person is 23 years, you may decide every month I will be saving 2,000 shillings. The 2,000 shillings, when you put at the money market, let's assume compounding at 10% interest, may build your pension scheme. You may find it is, if you take 2,000 times 12 months, that is 24,000 a year. If you take by 20 years, that is 480,000. But this money, because of compounding, if it is invested in a money market fund, you may find the actual investment is 720 million, but it has grown to even 3 or 4 million. You can check on, I have done some illustration on this actual illustration, and you see how it has grown. You need to diversify your income streams. Ask yourself, how many income streams do I have? A very rich investor by the name of Robert Kiyosaki says this: if you do not make money while you sleep, chances are high that you will work your entire life. I want to repeat. If you do not make money while you sleep, chances are high that you will work your entire life. You must have multiple income streams. James Mwangi earns from Equity Bank around his salary of around 160 million. I think in 2024, he earned around 160 million. But James Mwangi is also an investor in Equity Bank. And on a good year, he can get close to 500 million from his dividends in the bank. So his active salary is like a third of his passive income. Diversifying your income streams will ensure that you generate passive income and you will move from the left side of the cash flow quadrant to the right side. You will become a business person and an investor. You need to focus on long-term growth, not short-term hype. Do not follow the social media. Look at the project that you want to do. Does it make sense in the long term? This short-term hype, sometimes we shall get about what we call get rich quick investments. Most of us, most of the people, with the exception of the rich, that is the middle class and the low income, you want to make money and you want to make it now. There is a saying that Raila Odinga says, kama sio sasa, ni sasa hivi. So you want to make money quickly. And remember, easy come, easy go. Some of these short-term hypes, somebody is saying people are doing cryptocurrencies. People are doing these pyramid schemes. Are they regulated? Don't be very quick to get money when anything will happen and it will wipe out all your money. Let's bring some situation in Kenya where one can transform from maybe from low income or middle income to high income. There could be a teacher who has a plan. I am using teachers. Teachers are very good for investments, who buys land annually for 10 years. Every year, this teacher may not be earning much, but he's saying every year I will be buying land worth 200,000. 200,000. This land keeps on appreciating. It will reach a point in 10 years' time, that land that was bought 200,000 is now probably 1 million or 1.2 million. The boda rider who has invested in kiosks and rentals. The rentals that I'm talking about here, these are not the typical real estate. You find that county governments these days are upgrading some streets and maybe putting some container houses, making those container houses for these people. So a boda rider may diversify, is throwing some money here and here, and this money is generating them income. I know of a student I taught at Egerton University like 2 or 3 years ago. This student used to have a boda when he was at first year. And he kept on investing in bodas. By the time he was in 4th year, he had 4 bodas. Remember, he knew the business sector of bodas. So he would give people his bodas and they would be giving him some income on a regular basis. Today, he diversified and decided to own wholesale businesses, which he started as kiosks in an estate in Nakuru. This gentleman does not need to be employed. There is a pharmacist who reinvested profits in an MMF, money market fund, and made this grow and take care of their pension. So it is not a must that you must have a big salary to be able to grow and become rich. How will you break this trap? You need to budget monthly. you need to have some allocations for savings, some allocation for investments, some allocation for needs. Budgeting helps you in planning. If you fail to plan, you are actually planning to fail. Know how much do I earn? What are my income streams? What are my expenditure votes? If you budget, you will be able to seal any loophole that is coming towards your income. Open a money market fund account. Start saving. Money market fund require a minimum as little as 500 shillings a month. You can save, and it is not even a mandatory for you to save on a monthly basis. Anytime you get some money, you can throw it there. Even those who have money in your M-Pesa, do not just keep money in your M-Pesa. There is what we call M-Pesa ZD account. It earns interest as sometimes 7%, 8%. Keep money there where it will earn interest. Join and actively invest in a strong circle. When I mention a strong circle, it will depend on your objective. Do I want to invest in a circle for rebates or dividends, or do I want to invest in a circle to be able to get loans? If my investment is to be able to get loans, you need to go to a circle that is stable and doesn't have high cost of loaning. If you want to go to a circle that will give you good returns, they are there. Ensure that this circle is regulated by the SASRA, Circle and Societies Regulatory Authority. Avoid Shylocks and digital loan apps. When you get to these Shylocks and digital loan apps, you fall into a debt trap. Remember, it starts with consumption trap. If you cannot be able to maintain the consumption, you fall into the debt trap. And when you fall into the debt trap, they are saying that these days in the developed countries, those who have fallen into this debt trap, those who are into heavy gambling, those who are in alcohol and drug and substance abuse, all may need to go to rehabilitation centers. Don't take a loan from institution A or Shylock A to pay another institution. You can only take a loan from an institution to pay another institution if you are saving, if it is beneficial in terms of costs. And remember, we said you live within and even below your means. Set asset acquisition goals every year. They normally say that aim at the sun, reach at the moon. You have to dream. There is another, I'm forgetting the name of this person. He says that if your dreams do not scare you, I want to repeat, if your dreams do not scare you, go back to sleep and dream bigger. Your dreams must be very big so that you will work towards achieving them. If your dream is to become, you are earning 50,000, your dream is to have a salary where you are earning 60,000, it is achievable. If you are earning 50,000, dream of earning 150,000 and put mechanisms towards that dream. What are the wealth building habits that we need to adopt? The first one, spend less than you earn. This one, I have to keep on emphasizing on it. Live within and below your means. Track your net worth every quarter. If possible, even on every month or every week. Know, what are my debts? What are my assets? attend investment seminars like this one. Thank you for attending this. Read personal finance books. There are books I would recommend. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Cash Flow Quadrant. There is another one that is very good. Why A students work for B students. Why A students work for C students and B students work for the government? Why do very bright students work for average students and B students work for the government? Surround yourself with rich-minded people, asset-minded people. Don't surround yourself with people who are just gossiping. Oh, this person alinunua hii hata does not qualify, or this person is behaving this way, this way. Engage people who are talking about building assets. Because when you build assets, you are building empires. Have money rules. Always save at least 30%. And if it is at, let's say, in the worst case scenario, save 20%. The saving here we are talking about, if you are earning an income, salary, we are talking about the net salary after statutory deductions. So after you have been deducted pension, if your organization has pension, there is SHIV, there is a housing levy, there is payee. After you have been deducted those, save 30%. In the worst case scenario, save 20%. How do you get started? This is a journey that we want to start to avoid being trapped in consumption pitfall. Have a budgeting app. You can go and Google. These days, because of internet, everything is available. There are some budgeting apps. You can even tailor this budgeting app. Maybe budgeting app for salary of a secondary school teacher. Budgeting app for salary of somebody earning between 20,000 to 30,000. Budgeting app for somebody earning between 150,000 to 250,000. It will help you. With artificial intelligence and so on, you will be able to get exactly what you need. Use technology to your advantage. Get into SACCO membership and mobile platforms for saving money. You can get into these money market funds when the money government, these insurance funds. Get into licensed money market fund options. CIC, Britam, Jubilee, ICA. Do not get into money market fund that is not regulated by Capital Markets Authority. You remember, I don't want to mention the name of the institution because that one I will be demarketing and I don't want to do that. There was a money market fund that sank with people's money. I think they were promising around 18% and people lost their money. Read investment books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. For those who have not read this book, Robert Kiyosaki was raised by the poor dad who was a university professor, and he was comparing it with his rich dad, I think, who went up to high school, and the professor was always poor. The rich dad who barely had enough education, had known how to make money. Get into money wealth building meetups or chamas. In these chamas, you can decide to discuss about money matters. Everyone, you will discuss according to your level. You can, in this money wealth building meetups, you can decide to be having some saving challenges. Maybe somebody can start with a weekly challenge. saving maybe 50 bob shillings every week. You keep on growing it progressively. Like week 1, you save 50. Week 2, you save 50 plus 50, that's 100. Week 3, 100 plus 50, 150. You may find at the end of the year, you have saved like 20,000 just because of that challenge. In terms of summarizing, what are the aspects that we need to look at? The rich focus on assets. They are not interested in immediate income. They take time to lay their ground. When they rise, they are unstoppable. So take time to build your assets, not income. Avoid lifestyle inflation. We normally say that an investor will be affected by adjusting to lifestyle issues if you are not keen on investments. Let me elaborate this further. If you decide not to invest, just to save money without investment, this money will lose value over time. You can confirm with me that item that was costing 500 last year, January, today could be close to 800. We also say that lifestyle inflation will also mess you. If you get a salary increment and you do not plan for that salary within 3 months, expenses will just swallow that salary. You are earning 50,000, you are now earning 70,000. As a typical Kenyan like me and you decide, let me first enjoy this extra 20,000 for 3 months. My friend, you will find yourself like that case of a frog that is put in a pot of cold water. The water is gradually heated. The frog keeps on enjoying until when the water is too hot, because it will not just become hot at an instance, the frog does not have energy to get out of that. It will kill you, this lifestyle inflation. Invest consistently and start early. Now, they say that your first paycheck, the moment you get your first paycheck, be it from employment, be it from your business, start planning for your retirement. Robert Kiyosaki retired at 40 years. He had reached a point that he could not need to continue working active. So if you invest consistently, you will be able to build your portfolio. And when you start early, allow me still to expand on this. Take an example, a family, a young family, they are just newly married. Let's say they are 30 years. They don't have kids. They can afford even to stay in a bed sitter, a self-contained bed sitter. Both are earning. When kids come into play, the bed sitter may become too small for them. They need to move to maybe a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom. When you move into a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, you bring in a house help or a house assistant. This house assistant, you are paying them a salary, you are feeding them, and also you are feeding and taking care of your kids. Expenses increase at a very high rate. These kids will need to go to school after maybe 3-4 years. Now, on top of that, on top of paying house help, paying for consumption of utilities in this house, you are paying school fees. They say that primary school ni kionjo. Get to high school, If you decide to invest when your kids are in high school, at that point, everything is pulling you. You may find somebody in a very good high school is paying school fees like for 3 or 4 primary school kids. So the older you get, I am not saying it is not possible to invest as you age, but the older you get, the more uphill it becomes in terms of investments. So do it early, get a head start. Financial discipline beats high salary. There is a saying here I will say, making money is important. Making money is important. Keeping it is more important. Making money is important. Keeping it is more important. You must be able to know it is not the amount of money that you earn that matters. The amount, the little that you earn, are you able to save it and eventually invest in it? Apply small steps today. You will get massive results tomorrow. The Swahili say, haba na haba hujaza kibaba. So when you have discipline, you will be able to get to any level that you desire. What do we need in this getting out of this consumption trap? What are the actions that we need to do? Set an investment goal. These ones, I will just go through them very fast. Identify and invest, eliminate one consumption habit. Join a circle. Start tracking your income and expenses. Read personal finance textbooks. I think this is the last one, the second last. Now, what assets do you wish you started building 5 years ago? Do you have any regret 5 years ago? If yes, it's still not too late. What is your biggest consumption temptation? Ni nini inafanya utumie pesa yako more than you had planned? How can you restructure your monthly income for investment? You can go get this coaching and so on. You can go restructure your loans so that you will be able to invest. The last part, do not look rich. Be rich. And you don't have to tell people you are rich. They say the deepest river makes the least noise. The most shallow river makes most noise. Let's build generational wealth. Build a wealth that can be passed to generations, not generational debt. You have heard about governments having debts, inheriting from this government debt to this. Thank you. I think it is now back to the moderators.
Okay, thank you, Daktari. That was. Thank you, Daktari. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Thank you. That was
Yes,
quite.
you can.
Thank you. That was quite a discourse. We really appreciate your time. Now, members, I'm looking at the charts. Do you have any questions for our speaker today? You can pick a few questions. You can post your question on the chat so that we can sample a few before we close. Yeah, I see Jeremiah is has shared a message for our speaker. He says, thank you for the insights. It's very enlightening, indeed it is. I can see people are saying great insights, very informative. For sure, Daktari, you have delivered. You have done justice to the topic. Tekla says she will open an MMF account before Monday. Wow, you have challenged people here, Daktari. Thank you for this. And Franklin, okay, we'll be sharing the presentation to all active members. So if you're an active member, you'll be receiving this recording as it is. And together with the slides, we'll also accompany the slides from Daktari so that you can benefit from the same. Now, at this juncture, I want to welcome Peter to close for us today's webinar. Thank you and have a great evening. Oh, okay.
Hello. Yes, good evening, members, and thank you very much, Victor. And I also want to thank Daktari for the discourse that is given. Yes, indeed, my name is Peter, and I'll be standing in for Dr. Moraid Ndegwa as I close this meeting. So we really want to thank you, Daktari, for the discourse that you shared with us. And I think most of us who have heard you talk and giving this discourse have really gained a lot. And I could even tell from the comments that members were really appreciative of the discourse that you've given and the presentation that you've had. And I think the topic that you were discussing today really is quite pivotal and core and central to especially Kenyans in this country at the moment at which we're living in. So when we're talking about lessons from the rich on assets, investments, and breaking the consumption trap, I think really this was really very timely for each and every person who's managed to hear this discourse. I could even see that the members were saying that they would open MMF accounts as early as tomorrow. So really, this to me looks like a positive reaction to the discourse that you've given, Daktari. And some of the things that you've spoken about, Daktari, really touched me. And I think for most members who are here, most of us would know someone who's been in that consumption trap, even maybe ourselves. We also know of people who have gone ahead and done investments that have really reaped big returns for them. And there are those who are actually risk averse and who do not really move towards investment and are only probably only look forward to receiving that monthly paycheck, which they usually end up consuming. But when you talk about income and returns, then the members probably who again risk when it comes in, they do not want to hear about returns. They would rather that salary. So really, I think this was an eye opener for most of us, and I would really like to thank you, Dr. for that. So, and without further ado, much further ado, I'd like to say thank you, and thank you to you, Dr. For giving us the discourse. Thank you for members who participated in this particular webinar, for joining us. As Victor has mentioned, we are going to share this with our members, our paid up members, and we do hope that all members here will be able to get that recording and also replay it probably where the areas that they did not get properly, and just to have a refresher of the same from the recording that we're going to share. So for now, I'd like to say thank you and bye-bye. And yeah, have a great evening and kwaheri.